please unmute your microphone? Justin, can you please unmute your microphone?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the other item, or the applicants did allow or notified us that Todd can speak on their behalf. So Todd, I don't know, or up to the board, I don't know if you want to give a description of what is going on.
Okay, I guess I'll wear, I don't know if you want to drawings. Or you want to put one up on the screen. I got 3 drawings. I got what it is and what we plan on doing, and then the last one is kind of the short line. Yep, that's one of them.
Let's see if I can get it so it turns.
And then I do have copies.
All right. Which they do have that, any of the ones that you had already supplied. Or they do.
Yep, them are I think the same as you got, aren't they?
Yeah. So they do have copies of those.
Okay.
But if you want to explain the project, just make sure you're talking loud enough the microphone.
I guess the only thing we're really asking permission for is to cut the bank down so it's more usable. It's too steep to mow. Otherwise, everything else we're kind of mimicking. We are actually taking all the concrete out, you know, so that's a bonus on your end. We would like to put a set of stairways going up. This is existing right now. This is all concrete here. Concrete slab sheeting. We're gonna take the sheeting out, re-rock it, get rid of all the concrete, get rid of these. These are all concrete walls, one in front, and this is also a concrete wall, which he would like to replace it either with the same concrete that's there or rock it, and then put a set of stairs through. So this is kind of what we're proposing. The grading is around that tree. Like I said, this is gonna remain the same. We're gonna mimic that and then maybe a set of stairways through it. But that's our main grading part. So like I said, the only thing I'm really asking permission for is to remove that much dirt or destroy that much property at one time. And then that would make it more maintainable.
Linda, you have any questions?
No, not really.
So all the concrete is coming out?
Yep, that's gonna get all rebuilt.
So the grade between your neighbors to the north, I'm not sure how this is on this, you know, to one side or the other, how is that grade gonna be affected to them?
To the north will remain because that wall is gonna remain there. That's where his fire pit is.
What
So
has been the correspondence with the DNO?
what's that?
What has been the correspondence?
We did not receive any correspondence from the DNR.
Have they been notified?
We have to notify them on any shoreline, and they did not respond.
The only thing that I would like to talk about is in our paragraph, chapter 396.32.
Okay,
Yep, ABC through I think is what it is. And that's special conditions that this board can impose on this project. And it's kind of a safety measure. The DNR hasn't weighed in at this point, but there's written documentation of some things to watch for and to take care of. And it's an ordinance from the DNR. So I would like to propose that in this project that all of those items be addressed. Some of them come naturally and some of them may not. Got Phil over here.
we're not to the public participation part yet.
Okay.
Not yet, right? You wanna,
I mean, we can if you want, I mean,
yeah, we might as well, yeah.
all right, so at this time, we can open the public hearing to anybody wishing to speak in favor of the request. Please state your name and you are limited to 3 minutes. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this request? Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this request? Nobody has their hand up, right?
Well,
I meant done.
I just want to speak, not for or against.
And that'll come last. Anybody wishing to speak against this request? Anybody wishing to speak against this request? Third time, anybody wishing to speak against this request? Any other general comments on this request?
Mr. McLaughlin.
Thank you. My question is, I guess, probably to be addressed to Dustin. Does the DNR, I noticed when I was still employed by the county that the DNR, as well as other state agencies, were backing off of supplying opinions for a whole lot of things. My question is this: does the DNR weigh in anymore at all on much of any of this stuff at all?
Yeah, so they sent out they made every board of adjustment in the state send them a letter stating whether they wanted to get opinion from them or not. This board did vote to request those opinions if they wanted. I mean, if one was necessary in DNR's eyes. And we had a meeting last month where they did actually weigh in on one.
Okay, so it's at the DNR's discretion whether they supply an opinion or not.
Correct.
Okay, just
And when I've noticed they do, it's for variances, not the special
that's
exceptions.
what I was just kind of get at. Just when they do speak up, what? Okay.
They did it at our last meeting,
Yeah.
so, regarding the project.
If the DNR doesn't weigh in, or if they do weigh in, they're not approving or they're not disapproving.
No, I was just curious because, but
And
that
if they
covers.
don't weigh in, then that doesn't, negate all of their requirements.
No, absolutely not. No.
I mean, that's up to this board.
Yeah, no, I realize that. It was just a curiosity question.
I'd like to have those items on that 39632 read, if you would, so we understand what they're talking about.
All right, so it would be the smallest amount of bare ground be exposed for as short a time as feasible. Temporary ground cover such as mulch be used as, and permanent cover such as sod be planted. That diversions, silting basins, terraces, and other methods to trap sediment be used. Lagooning be conducted in such a manner as to avoid creation of fish trap conditions. Fill is stabilized according to accepted engineering standards. Fill will not restrict a floodway or destroy the storage capacity of a floodplain. Sides of a channel or artificial watercourse be stabilized to prevent slumping. Sides of channels or artificial watercourses be constructed with side slopes of 2 units horizontal distance to 1 unit vertical or flatter unless bulkheads or riprapping is provided. That a design and maintenance plan be submitted to the county for approval.
And I'd like to make that one of the requirements, if we approve this, that be one of the requirements.
So you'd have to make a motion to do so.
I don't know that we're to that point.
You could make it at any point.
I still had a couple questions.
So,
So you're taking all this concrete out, what, just gonna be sod? What's going in?
It's gonna get revegetated.
Just
so
everything,
how,
other than steps?
Other than steps and a walkway where he launches his dock on.
Okay,
And more than likely that'll be a pervious or, yeah, it'll be a pervious surface.
so pretty much the grade level will remain the same?
The grade level on the bottom, the flat where the concrete is.
Yeah.
That will remain the same from that area. We're gonna take the walls out and shave the hills off.
Okay, and then how from the grade by the water where the riprap is,
Yeah,
how high is the grade going from there to the house?
boy, I don't know if I got that. It's usually not an issue. I mean, you're looking at, probably 12 to 15 feet difference. The house is way up on the hill.
So the grade is going from the, well, I'll say the shoreline, a natural swift grade,
Yep, right
up to the house.
to where the house plateaus. It does come out pretty flat for a while,
Okay,
but then there's a hump in it, and then it dives down to their walls.
okay.
Like I
But those
said,
walls are coming out?
Yeah, we wanna get rid of the walls, that way it's maintainable.
Okay,
Otherwise, right now, it's
right.
200 foot of wall, 4 foot, and then stepped up 4 foot full of gravel and concrete.
so,
Concrete's being taken down and hauled away, not
Yep.
buried?
so my name is Bob Baronic. I'm joining by Zoom. I'm the neighbor to the east of the property at 885. Can you
So
guys-
the public portion, the public comment portion is closed. This is for the board's deliberation.
I tried to get in when you asked for comments. Is that possible or not?
Chairman? Okay. What was the
So
name
I
again?
guess this is the first, I guess I've seen this or heard of it, and I appreciate the letter that was sent out. My question is, how is this concrete and that piling that's driven in, how's that gonna be removed?
It'll be cut.
How are they gonna get access? What's the access point to get all that out of there?
Speak up.
Through his own property. We're gonna cut right between his shed and his house and straight to the shoreline.
Okay, maybe,
We'll be on his property the whole time.
and so do you anticipate any damage to the rest of that seawall that's in there?
Not to anybody else's.
Is it riprap or seawall?
Well, there's seawall there now, but it's all rotten. I mean, it's falling apart. It's rotted out right at the water.
So there's no riprap stone?
There is some there. We are gonna add a lot to it.
Yeah, there's not a ton there. I'm just, my question is the guy next to me had done some work and cracked a bunch of concrete, and I'm not against the project, don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to understand how this is gonna happen.
So is there a seawall on both sides of the property?
Yes,
Good,
there is.
And how is that gonna be ended when you take yours out?
Usually what we do is cut, and there's usually tiebacks. Just about in that area, about every 20 feet, there's a tieback in there.
Okay.
You know, and if,
So there's not one there where you cut, you're gonna
they're
establish
gonna
one?
cut it, and then we'll put a tieback in, you know, so it holds the neighbors up.
So that portion of that though will be on
It'll still be on
the,
the property.
Okay.
Like I said, most of them areas are rotten out. They're rotten out right at the water line, so even the tieback.
Yeah, I agree I agree that the piling is rotting at the water level. There's no doubt where the air and water level's at. And there is some riprap down in there. I'm just trying to understand the access point and how you're gonna cut it and maintain that there's not gonna be damage to something else.
The other thing, a lot of times we'll do is we'll bulkhead on the neighbor's property. you put a fatter load of rock on the ends, so that protects everybody. You know, eventually, the next neighbor, I mean, in the future, his is gonna fall apart too.
Yeah,
Not
it's,
necessarily on the property line, but I
Right.
mean, they're all falling apart, so in the future.
it's not if, it's when.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Eventually, if they're gonna end up getting pulled. And I'm not a big believer in leaving it there, you're just leaving a weak link in it. You know, if you pile rock up against it, it's just gonna eat it out later.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other comments,
Yeah, I'd like to say, I went through your proposal. I understand the pervious surfaces. Your riprap and the whole, it looks good. It's a good presentation. The only thing that I would like to address in that is the detail of the steps having like a reverse angle on them to some degree to prevent water runoff.
The other one usually underneath, like when you put them steps
Like you
in,
wash stone.
yeah, you put a wash stone pocket every so many of them. That way the water has a place to run in instead of keep going down the hill.
Yeah, well, if the steps are pointed downhill, then the water goes downhill.
The other one is your riprap alone is a filtration system. Everything that hits the riprap has wash stone behind it, so it's automatically hitting the wash stone before it even gets into the rock. You know, on the whole length of the
So
shoreline.
you're saying.
So you're actually, now you're double, you're already protected in that aspect.
Okay, you have no intention of putting a back slope on the steps.
You can put a slight one, but the problem is that it
That's what I'm asking for.
really don't, yeah, I mean, if that's what you request, it don't, like you said, it don't, I don't know if it's gonna make a difference. It doesn't make a difference to us when we set them, it just crack the bubble the other way. Normally you set them level.
Okay,
And these are probably not gonna be consecutive steps. You know, they won't be one after another all the way to the top of the hill, there'll be a gap in them. So every gap will be another catch for the water. And we're not even sure if he's gonna go with the steps. He might just leave it grass and walk down the grass. The only reason I'm asking for it is because they are steps there now. And if he decides to do it, I'm not stepping on anybody's toes.
so there's, if they choose to leave grass in it,
yeah,
I mean, we don't have to do anything about that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Like I said, he already has steps there. I can mimic what he's got. The ones he's got does not have any water catch, you know, I mean, what he's got now is old school. They laid steps on the ground and that's what you get. There's no infiltration whatsoever in what he's got now. So anything we did would be a major improvement as far as water.
And does satisfy you, what, Robert, or?
well, I'm confused. What's the request for, steps or grass?
The only request I'm requesting.
The request is not for none of that. You don't weigh in on the steps at all. That's a zoning issue that they're not asking for anything different than what the ordinance allows.
I'm asking
It's good.
to remove the dirt, which is,
I'd like to make a motion that we approve it. However, and the condition would be to follow in accordance with all the steps in our 396-32.
yep, those are standard practices.
Okay, just so that.
If you're building it and you don't want to mess, you follow the standard practices otherwise.
And if the back steps, they're tipped backwards on a negative angle, however much that is. That's the motion that we
Okay.
include.
A through I plus back slope of the steps.
If the steps go.
All right, so the motion is just to add those conditions. We're not on the approval stage yet.
Yes.
To attach those conditions to the application. So there's a motion.
Now you can make a motion, Robert.
Well, you did.
You did.
Was there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Let's have a voice vote. Linda?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, motion carried.
To attach the conditions, now you need to vote on the application with the attached conditions.
Okay. Linda?
Well,
We'll make a motion to
yeah,
approve the application with the added
Condition.
condition of the stairs and the, I think it was just the stairs and Bob's
A through I.
A through I.
396.
Seconded,
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Voice vote, Linda?
yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carried.
All right, thank you, board.
Go to work.
Yeah, might say you better get to it.
Make a motion to no more motion.
Yeah.
The next application is for Don and John Hubman. Special exception request under 39630A2 of the Adams County Shoreline Wetland and Habitat Protection Ordinance to allow grading more than 1,000 square feet on upgrading on property located in the northeast quarter, southeast quarter, northeast quarter, section 16, town north, 20 north, range 6 east, being lot 1, CSM 6648, parcel 30-5298-10, town road, 997 Kings Way. I received a phone call from the neighbor Tom and Mary Sharon, maybe. They do not have any objections to it. As well, Lois Mauer, who's at 993 Kings Way, she has no objections to it. And I don't have any other correspondence. Was there a town point? Or just one the town didn't do it?
It's wrong.
But we did not receive a form from the town of Rome, one way or the other.
Robert, I'll let you start questions. Do you have any?
Well, I don't see any plans, that we can question. It is,
The plan,
it's verbal.
the
It's a
plan,
house, a nice house.
That's-
that's not our house. That shows, okay,
It's Lois's.
well, you guys read all my paperwork, so, that's the Lois's house, the one that called, and she's got a situation there where, it's, to me, I'm trying to avoid that. And you'll see that on my drawings. I'm trying to avoid having a, catch-all pool in there for water, leaves, and today with the fire hazards the way they are, I would rather have that open, to the lake. Right now, Justin approved, it was approved for the first, or Dustin, I'm sorry, the first 1,000 square feet. What we're after is the 1,000 square feet after that. And I've shown, the picture, the gray house is what we're after, doing the same thing, blending.
This one, this one.
Yeah.
That one,
Blending it.
blending the grass in, and then whatever we have to do rock-wise, what do you call it, riprap, coming off the sides of the house and down. And that's what I showed on these or was shown on the drawings.
This is your home that you're talking about, all right? This is
No.
the one you own?
We're going to build.
We're going to build, no, that's my neighbor's house.
Oh, okay.
And that's, like I said, we're trying to avoid,
This is your neighbor?
that's our neighbor's house.
And the gray one is, the dogs. that-
So we never got those.
Yes, you did, you had full-size drawings, that's what I was gonna ask you. if you
Oh,
got
not as
those.
part of the application, I don't. Was that part of the,
We gave it all to her.
We gave it all, I got small pictures here, if we can do something with that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hold on.
We don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's
I
what he's,
thought-
that's what he's working on right now. Well, here,
We're gonna-
Yes. That one.
No.
No.
Come out of the basement.
No, I actually have
Not killing anything.
pictures here of, this is all, I had full-size drawings that were,
You gave them to her, yeah.
of these.
Okay,
This shows,
so you're gonna show those to the board,
sure,
and then I will need those.
this is the house,
Their proposal.
that's my proposed house. And then I have lines here for the 75-foot setback. And then a line here showing where it's been approved so far. I mean, where the land would be. Here I've got a, let's see, let me see. Here. I've got the actual off the county land information website. The grade of the land, which actually averages out to, it's about 13.6 degrees. That it ended up coming out.
This being a lake here,
This is the lake here.
right, and then this is where the grade of the house is.
This is the grade. This is the top, yes, the grade of the house.
Okay.
Here's the house. And the drawing, here's the lake. The lake is here,
Okay, that's 75 feet to the house.
75 feet. Here I've got all of
And then there's a
it.
deck or something on the end of the
It's-
house.
It's 24 feet, okay, where I was gonna start my cut. And then the deck starts at 79 feet,
Similar, yeah.
and then the house.
Like that, okay.
Not like this.
Because she's got multiple lots.
We have a double lot that we
Consolidated.
consolidated.
So the house is right at 75 feet.
No.
The house is at 79 feet. The start of the deck is at 79 feet.
Okay.
So what I'm trying, like I said, what was approved
Slope.
right now is to this point, and I want that, being
So you're gonna walk out.
a walk out.
So we have 10 feet down to the water from the house level.
Right.
Over that 75 feet.
Well, apparently I can't rotate it, but it's on the screen now at least. That way Linda can see it as well. If you want to re-explain it so Linda can hear it.
Oh.
In essence, this is an example of a neighbor's house that they don't want it to look like.
I don't want,
And this is what they
Right.
want it to look like.
exactly,
Because it's not built yet,
Right.
right,
correct? So now you're
Yes.
gonna show the setbacks
right.
on that screen.
Okay, your house is gonna be up on top of it, to that level.
Yes,
And then you'll have like an access down to the water.
right. Well, it will walk
It'll be
just like
natural
that,
slope.
like that. Yeah, it'll be the natural slope of the land.
Okay.
And as soon as we can blend, the rock will be out to where, where we can blend the lawn and,
Are there plants between where you propose putting your house and the water?
the plants, there's trees, yes.
Okay, what happens to the trees?
They're staying here, they're staying.
So and then you have a viewing corridor.
Right. There's trees on the lake also. And, yes, there's a corridor. That's what we're after, to see the,
Do we need to open a public hearing anymore? or-
Yep.
Okay,
Still need to.
let's do that then.
All right, so at this time, we'll open the public hearing for anybody wishing to speak in favor of the request. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the request? One more time, anybody wishing to speak in favor of the request? Anybody wishing to speak against this request? Anybody wishing to speak against this request? Third time, anybody wishing to speak against this request? All right, are there any other general comments from the public?
Mr. McLaughlin.
Thank you. A general question, not just applicable to this case, but, the gentleman on the corner brought it up. The vegetated buffer zone and corridor stuff, in any instance, that, not, like I said, across the board, where somebody's gonna do something like this, I'm assuming they're not allowed to go into that 35-foot buffer area, except for the corridor portion, maybe where they can, otherwise that's still off limits, yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Can you note that on your drawings?
He just can't do it.
Can't do
If you're talking about that, what Bill just said about the
I
buffer,
brought up the viewing corridor. I see nothing indicating that on the information.
I didn't know anything, I didn't.
right, it wouldn't be required on the application. That's in the ordinance, they just have to follow that.
That 35 buffer, you can't cut, can't do anything
Right.
unless it's a corridor. That's what he said.
Then the corridor, 35 feet from the water?
Yes, borderline.
Ordinary high water.
What is it, 30 or 35, 33 feet or?
35 feet from the ordinary high water mark for the width of the lot, except for a 35% viewing corridor.
35 foot.
35%.
Okay, can I add something to? And that, just correct me if, unless something's changed, that corridor can't, keep moving.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Well, okay, let's say you got a lot of water frontage. Okay, you're entitled to your corridor. Let's say it's heavily vegetated. Okay. Well, next year or so. This is not a question just for you.
Right, no, I know what you're saying.
So, okay, so next year, 2 years, they say, well, I want my corridor over here.
Right.
And I'm just saying that creates all kinds of problems, and that's why, in my opinion, a corridor should be established, and that's where it is.
I can't imagine anybody moving it, Phil. If you go through all
Worked at this county for 20 years.
I tell you what, you come by my house and tell me I might move mine.
Didn't
Have a
say
headache,
you.
damn it.
I didn't say you.
Well, I'm just saying in general, you go through all this work to establish a corridor, and then next year you decide you're gonna move. I can't believe people are gonna do that. I just can't.
Well, not typically, of course not.
Question, where is that 35-foot mentioned?
In the shoreline ordinance, but it's, that's something that you and I can work on. It has nothing to do with the board here.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Jody Shapey. I was just gonna ask, with this gentleman's property, it seems that it's a surprise to him. So during this process, somewhere you are
Yes.
indicating to him in the ordinance what he has to
Yep.
be aware of. Thank you.
If there's no further comments or questions, we look for a motion on it.
I'll make a motion to approve it, the
Motion,
application.
And I'll second it.
motion and second. Are there any attachments to this motion, or just we're approving as presented?
Let's see. Conditions or not.
Yeah, conditions, any conditions, other than the ordinance has got that covered, so it,
Well, we have a motion on the floor here. I don't know if I can talk.
got a motion and second.
Yeah.
To approve it?
Well,
Then really at that point, you're supposed to discuss it. I guess you could amend the motion or amend the,
as I see it, there's a lot of things that aren't written. So a motion should be made to the effect that Dustin inform him of what these details are.
that's my job description.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's asking for, where we're standing as a variance.
Well,
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
I,
Motion carried 4-0. Thank you.
And we'll be in touch.
Okay.
The next application is for Driftless Glen Properties LLC, special exception request under 405-12F of the Adams County Shoreline Wetland and Habitat Protection Ordinance to allow a meat processing facility on property located in the southeast quarter, northeast quarter, section 24, town 15 north, range 5 east, being lot 1 and 2, CSM 2992, parcel 32-167, town of Springville. The address is 3331 Highway 23. The town board of Springville did approve this request. Their March 25th meeting. The town feels it will be an asset to the community, and they did not want to rezone to industrial. They would like to possibly limit it to 15 beef and 25 goat or sheep per week. That is a request that they are, if you were to approve it, they would like that as a condition, limit on the number of animals. I've also I believe you have the correspondence from the applicant. There's some email in there. The state DOT did say that the owner will need to submit an application for connection to a state highway, application for the proposed use. They do not have a permit on file, so they will need to obtain that. The county highway department said they have no concerns with, they were actually referring to the rezoning request, but they said they do not control highway access to Highway 13. To whom it may concern, this letter grants Stevenson Processing permission to initiate the process of rezoning, but going through this process. It is a condition of the purchase of their property. That is from the Driftless Glen Distillery, signed by, or from Abby Brennan. And you should have the proposal from the Evenson family. That's all I have on it.
Can I make a correction on your first statement?
Sure.
From the town, they said 15 beef and you said 25 goats or sheep.
Yep.
Can we make that small animals such as pigs? I don't want to be confined just to be able to butcher goats and sheep in the end result here.
That would be up to the board to, I mean, because this is just a recommendation from the town.
What's the property zoned at?
B1, business.
Will there be deer?
Yes. Deer processing would be.
Councilor Kevin, should I make a comment on that?
In the public portion.
So it's on what business right now?
Yes.
And he wants to change it to,
It's not changing.
oh, okay.
So there was two avenues to take during this process. Just a little background on this application. The original that the applicant and I had discussed was he was going to rezone it to industrial.
Right.
And then apply for a conditional use permit to do this. That process would have gone through the planning and zoning committee. The issue that did arise at the town level, or I guess just in general, is that adult entertainment facilities are permitted use in industrial.
Right.
And there was concerns about rezoning it to that. Option two is, instead of going that route, go through the special exception request, leave it as B1, go through the special exception request specifically for this use. And that's what is now in front of you. So the zoning is not changing. They're just requesting a special exception for a unspecified use in that district.
Is waste an issue here or?
They are regulated by the US, DNR and USDA. So I mean, they have to deal with it in a
They're not
state
dealing
approved
with a
fashion.
septic system, they're dealing with it.
Waste of it.
Right. Previously, one I've seen that's a very similar setup. They actually put in holding tanks, and they have a contract with that specific one had a contract with Stevens Point. They had a company that hauled back and forth every day to take it up there. Putting it into a septic system is almost impossible just because of the nature of the waste.
So I can understand the solids, how he's gonna get rid of that, as you're saying, the waste. What about the runoff from washing the floors and stuff like that?
Anything that would come from the kill floor would go into those same holding, all treated the same.
Okay.
If there's, well, not if, the bathrooms in the building,
Well,
that could all go into a septic system
Right.
as normal. But anything that would be part of the processing, and I believe the applicant, I mean, he's familiar with it, he's done this before. He can probably explain it as well as I can.
Yeah, I can answer any questions you have on this.
I do have some questions. And here we are, the BOA, hang on now.
Okay.
We have the BOA. And I see this is gonna be taken care of, the highway connection to 13. Okay, I don't see any evidence of that. The waste is gonna be taken care of holding tanks. The BOA doesn't have any, we don't have any evidence of that.
They have to.
It's a USDA.
Right, we're gonna make a decision on this, and we don't know if they're gonna connect to the highway. We don't really know if they're gonna follow that.
They wouldn't be able to operate if they don't.
Right, operating license, they would have to follow the rules of the, you know.
So they're gonna connect to Highway 13.
There is already a driveway to Highway 13. The DOT is saying they don't have a permit on file, so they have to get a permit for the driveway that's already there.
So by law, they have to obey the waste issue.
Right.
Yep. I'm done.
Yeah, that's not optional.
No, it really is not optional. There's only one way to handle it.
You know, you mentioned about small animal versus specific to goats, I guess.
Yes,
Would the number still be 15?
15 beef and 25 small animal, yes.
Okay. So it's your choice on the 25 small one.
Yes, meaning hogs, sheep, goats, llamas, whatever may occur.
Have you?
I'm just curious, are you selling this product then?
We do plan to have a retail store out front. Our main objective here is actually do a farm to table program where we deal with the farmers and take their animals directly from the farm, directly to the retail.
Okay.
Also do a custom processing business so the farmers can sell it, quarters or halves. And at the same time, they would be able to also do a private label if they choose to where they can sell it anywhere. That's under our USDA standard federal inspection.
Okay.
So they can sell it to restaurants or across state lines or anywhere in the world for that matter.
That doesn't apply to us anyway, right?
And it doesn't apply to others.
Right. The retail store portion is actually a permitted use in that district.
So, well, I guess we'll open up to public.
Yep. And the one thing I do want to point out in your packet, the sheet that says proposal, it does talk about the waste. It would be picked up twice a week by Sanimax. All solid waste is kept separately and are kept under refrigeration until picked up. Sanimax is a livestock rendering company. It's been rendering meat byproducts to create high quality fats, oils, and protein. All liquid waste is drained into the holding tank and pumped as needed by a licensed wastewater treatment plant. And that is in their application. And they would need permits, obviously, for all of them.
When you mention small animal, you say llama.
Yeah, believe it or not, there's people that butcher llamas.
Is that a small animal?
Yeah, it's not considered a bovine, so it would be considered a small animal.
Yeah, and I
Most of the time, those only weigh about maybe 300 to 400 pounds on a big one.
And I'd like to say, I get caught up in details, and
Absolutely.
I think it's a great thing.
I see.
I just worry about getting all the details in line.
Yep. I've been doing this for 36 years and I can handle this pretty well.
All right, at this time, we'll open the public hearing to the the public, anybody wishing to speak in favor of this request?
Sir?
Well, I'm on the town board for the town of Springville, and I believe that the fact that it does not say hogs and deer for the small animals was just a misprint. I mean, it should have been in. So the town board does not have any problem with that. And the other thing, the highway, I would like to answer that question. That building has been there since the late 1950s. There has been a driveway there ever since. That was long. I don't understand the state's question on there because that was long before the state had a highway ordinance. So how could there possibly be a permit on file when they never had an ordinance when it was put in? So that's all I've got to say about it. The town has no problems whatsoever with this.
Thank you. I would just say the gentleman seems to have his ducks in a row and knows what he's doing.
You didn't say duck.
That's right. Small animal. Sure. So, anyway, what was I gonna ask? Like I said, all the laws are there. I mean, the driveway thing too. That Dustin, correct me if I'm wrong. And what Mr. Paler said, I understand too, but the driveway, the DOT, when there's a change of use, if it is gonna look at driveway access, because if all of a sudden entrance and exits from a given driveway are gonna go from 1 every 2 days to 42 a day or something, you can have a big issue. So that's another reason, if I'm not mistaken, why the DOT is gonna look into.
There used to be a store there.
Well, I'm just saying, just so that maybe it might help shed a little light on some of this for folks, everybody, that can make a big difference, whether they have to have a turn-off lane and all, I'm just saying.
And ultimately, it has to be compliant. I mean, whether it ends up being, like you said, or they say, okay, well, you don't need one because it was already there. The end result is it has to be compliant.
Yeah. You don't have to, so we're just saying.
One thing that hasn't been mentioned much is the deer processing factor. Correct me if I'm wrong, right now we've been talking about the animals, but is deer processing into this whole deal? This is not gonna slow me down from processing possibly up to 1,000 deer.
I wouldn't think it has any impact on that.
My answer to that would be, it's a processing plant. The only limits are the two that the town requested, 25 on small animal, 15 on cattle. Anything else, there's not a limit on, unless the board so chose to add one. And those 15 and 25, you guys still would have to actually add that as a condition. But if you don't put a limit on it, there isn't a limit. It's not saying he can't do deer though.
Okay.
Just one more comment, Bob, I promise. But I'm assuming when the town made that distinction about animals, they were talking about live animals on site.
Right.
Not somebody bringing in a dead deer, so I don't think they factor it in. That's my opinion. I'm not on the board, but that's my opinion.
Makes sense.
Product.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just curious, did you call for those in favor and those against it?
That's what he's doing.
Are we doing general discussion at this stage or?
Well, right now we've only gotten as far as in favor.
Okay, so
then we got
when get to
sidetracked.
general, I'd like to talk.
I guess I should finish that. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this request? Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this request? I think that was number 3. Anybody wishing to speak against this request? Anybody wishing to speak against this request? Third time, anybody wishing to speak against this request? Are there any other comments from the public?
Thank you. Jody Shapey again. Just a couple things. I think it's admirable that Springville is going this route. But I hesitate for the Board of Adjustment to make a determination on the idea that to avoid a possible end of a business if it fails, and a rezone to I-1, which is industrial, you would open the door to a sexual oriented business.
Well,
If that's the objective, I certainly hope that that same generosity is given to other towns. Because it seems like we're spot zoning. We're saying stay at B1 and have this, and now Springville has the best of all worlds. I don't know how the process went. If this is some kind of just from now on, we're gonna openly consider this for every single township, or if it was just for a Springville favor. Just putting that out there. To me, that's spot zoning. For robust decision-making, I think the drawing that was submitted is kind of pie in the sky. You have live animals coming in. If I saw where you were putting your live animals, I have livestock. One, that's a really small corridor for livestock. Two, cleaning that out is gonna be problematic. So I think that's very pie in the sky on that one. The flow of your process, which it does look like, you know, you just drew it. I understand there's no real detail. There's detail, but there's just not enough. I'm a graduate from butchering. So when I look at the process, you're crossing over from live animals to meat processing, then you've got storage, but then you walk back through and you've got retail. So I think your flow needs some definitive work.
I'm not familiar with what picture you're looking at, because the one I showed.
The one I saw at Springville. So I came to Springville and with the original intent was for industrial zoning. They had a fear, which I think is great, that there's an alternative. However, I also hope that the same consideration is given to other towns in businesses such as this. So I saw it there, and then I also saw it at the planning and zoning, but then it was tabled from planning and zoning and came here. So I'm just trying to educate the board that it's all great, and I think, you know, your business, I'm not against businesses moving in, but I just caution spot zoning. And maybe more detailed than what was provided.
Well, I thought this whole SIP was about
Livestock.
an application for a parcel that's zone B1.
It is.
So now all of a sudden it's industrial.
No.
Zoning thing
It's
comes in.
staying as
Yeah.
B1, Bob, with this different parameter, where in the normal nature, it would have gone to a rezone request for industrial with conditions attached. So there's two avenues you can take, granted. My point is, what I think should have happened is that it should have gone the industrial zoning and then a conditional use. What Springville didn't want to have happen, and I
That
applaud
is 3
them for
months.
this, is that they went back to Dustin and said, we don't want to go with this zoning, we want to stay B1 because we don't want to open up the possibility for special, for an SOB. By the way, this is wrong, it's not shoreland, it's comprehensive zoning.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes,
I thought we were here for the meat processing plant.
We are.
Okay. So,
I am on Zoom.
In the B1 zone.
I think there is another member of the public. Is there someone on line that is wishing to speak?
Yes, I'm on Zoom.
Okay. Would you like to weigh in or speak in this?
Yes. Yes, I would. My name is
Can
Robert
you please
Olivares.
speak your name, and you are limited to 3 minutes.
My name is Robert Olivares. I live right next to the building that they want to put this processing plant in. I live right next to it, and I got a few questions. I was wondering about the smell. Is it going to have any kind of smell to it or anything like that? Or is it going to lower my property value or anything?
Would the applicant like to address those issues?
There is absolutely no smell. we had talked if the smokehouse is running, there might be some smoke in the air, but at the same time, we use one small chunk of wood when we smoke a batch. So it's not like a outdoor wood burner running or anything like that. It's very minimal, almost like a charcoal grill. And as far as the property value, I don't know how to answer that. I guess it's just a matter of who looks at what situation.
Is this gentleman in residential or?
Yes, residential, next door.
This would be.
They'd be right to the north of them.
Yep. It would be that one.
You can see about,
Make a condition that it stays.
you can see the picture right there.
Okay.
So it's that green gray right next to the building.
Gotcha, okay.
It's right across from Tyson's lumber.
So is that gentleman speaking for or against that fellow?
I'm against it.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
I would say yes, because the code section is correct and Adams County ordinances are codified, so the number trumps the other, even though the name is incorrect. On the notice, it does mention shoreline ordinance. It's actually under the comprehensive ordinance, but the code 405-12 that it mentions is correct. 405-12F. That is the general zoning ordinance.
Please?
Maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just would offer up, again, an opinion based on the fact that I worked in as zoning director for 20 years. However, which way this goes for this gentleman and this wife, however which way it goes, I would argue that because of the way it's posted, you can have a problem, whichever way it ends up.
You mean as far as business or industrial? Is that what you're going?
No, it's posted wrong. This is a comprehensive zoning issue, not a shoreline zoning issue. It's posted wrong. And I'm just saying, think about it for just a moment. Whichever way it turns out, if he doesn't get it, if I'm him, I'm gonna argue that it was posted incorrectly in the first place. If he does get it, and the people that don't want it, they're not gonna be happy either, and they got something to grumble about, the fact that it's not posted correctly. Thank you.
What do we need to repost this thing?
As the current director, my opinion is that it's fine.
Okay.
As it is. It's up to the board if you'd like to table it. I mean, that's fine. We can republish it, re-notify the neighbors. But at this point, my opinion is that the code section is what defined the section of the ordinance, and it also, the notice did state exactly what the request was.
So we're here today to vote on, to allow it as a meat retail process or the number of
To allow for a meat processing plant.
okay, that's fine.
The retail portion, they could start that tomorrow if they wanted.
Right.
The meat processing, if you were to say yes and not put any conditions on it, there's no conditions. They do as many as they want.
Condition, we're having the number of animals, small animals with that.
Right. You can also put conditions on that. It expires on change of ownership. So like if they sold it, the license or the approval wouldn't go with to the owner. You could limit the hours of operation. You can put any conditions you would like on it. The town didn't request any of those other than the number of animals for a few of those, or for the couple of things they said.
So is there any more further comments from the?
I'd like to make a motion.
Let's see if there's any more
I have another
comments.
comment.
I believe this is a gentleman that already did speak that was opposed to it.
Okay. So we'll close the public.
He said he had another comment. I don't know if that's up.
Okay.
It's up to you. Go ahead.
How many days a week is this going to be operated?
Well, the retail store will be open 7 days a week, except for holidays. The processing, actually, the harvesting of animals is only 1 day a week. Harvesting is about 8 hours. Other than that, when we're actually cutting and processing, making sausage, you won't hear anything. You won't even know anything's even going on.
Okay.
I
Okay,
have Sure.
Ma'am,
How long are the animals, the live animals on site?
They're not. There's actually, I've got a picture of a tub. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
So what's gonna happen is all the animals that do come in, they're gonna be on a schedule. Everybody shows up within 15 minutes of their suggested time. And the animal gets unloaded, goes into the tub, goes directly into the building. My son and I, at this time, him and I can go through an animal in about 20 minutes. So that's a beef. Pigs are a little bit quicker. There was no waiting time. I don't want the outside cleanup.
So there is no manure?
There might be a touch, you know, you can't stop it. They get off the trailer, they may, in the tub, they might be in the tub for 15 minutes.
Are you planning on some kind of schedule for removing the livestock? Deborah, the waste, the manure, the bedding, the whatever, what have you, that is part and parcel of this?
Yes, that actually goes into the same rendering truck as all the solids.
Okay, so you're not trying, you've got a small footprint of extra area there, you know, a berm of trees and stuff, so I just wanted to make sure that that was being removed.
Correct. And a lot of processing plants are actually right in towns. So they all kind of run under the same thing. You know, they can't have a lot of animals standing around. They can't have, there's no waste whatsoever outside. They can't have a manure pile, nothing of that sort. We're not gonna run any different. And USDA wouldn't allow us to. No matter, you know, even if I had a great excuse, they would not allow it. We're not a manure storage facility, we're a processing plant.
I think you're underestimating how much water you're gonna be using. So,
we're gonna,
you get a lot of water.
ma'am, we're
Go
gonna
ahead.
close,
That's right. Yeah,
we're
go
gonna
ahead.
close this,
Yep.
okay?
Yep.
You wanna argue with him after the
Nope,
meeting?
nope.
That's fine, okay?
I'm good.
All right, we're gonna close and look for a motion to approve or.
First, make a motion and second, or go through the motion process to attach any conditions that you'd want.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve it as written.
Or no, just do the conditions for now, not the approval. What conditions would you like to add?
Make a motion, the condition, regardless of the vote here, that it remain, it's approved, that the zoning remains U1. And now the motion to approve that.
So you don't want to attach any conditions about a limit on the number of animals?
Yes.
Yes.
You need to state that because it's not written in the application. You have to state,
25 small animals.
yep,
Not.
and 15
beef.
Beef and 15 beef.
15 beef, yeah.
In the partridge and the territory, no.
So you want those two conditions as well?
Put those conditions in there, I thought they were already in the application. It is approved.
One of the other things you mentioned, Dusty, that if
And-
it would fail, can we put something on there to remain, or do we change anything, or we just, if it fails, we shut it down?
What, so if you're approving a conditional use permit for meat processing, so as it would stand, if you guys, I mean, if you left everything alone as it is right now and approved it, and he closed down, the only thing that could ever go back in there is a meat processing plant.
Okay.
With the same condition of 15 and 25.
Okay.
If you did put the condition on that it expires on transfer of ownership, that would be an option. So if it does fail if it does fail, the next person could buy it and put in a meat processing plant. They could do other things that are permitted by the ordinance.
Okay.
But you would have to add that as a condition.
But what you wouldn't want to do is if he sold it to another similar operation, that you're forcing them to come back to the same table?
Yeah, if you put that condition on.
Yeah, you know.
Could I ask another question? When you say sell it, let's say down the road, I go to retire and I sell it to my son, it's still in the family, how does that work?
It would depend on how the condition is made, if they, you know, if it leaves the family or something like that, but it doesn't.
Legal
I'd
Can I finish my?
We'll end up with a document that thick, okay? We don't want, I think we're looking for a motion to approve the meat processing.
I think he's in the middle of stating a motion right now.
Let me finish my motion and then I can all go back to sleep.
Okay.
That we include the number of animals as a condition.
Yep.
And
15.
condition number 2 would be that parcel remain as a B1.
Okay,
All right, so we're voting on it.
well, that's a motion.
Yeah.
Need a second.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and second on this proposal.
And you're just voting on
Yes.
putting those onto the application.
Yeah, okay. Let's have a voice vote on this. Linda?
Maybe one, yes.
No.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, 3-1.
Who was the no?
I was.
Okay,
It was the no, okay.
so 3-1, Dave said no.
And now we need a motion to,
Approve it with the attached conditions.
I make the motion to approve it with the attached conditions.
I'll second that. Then a motion in a second. Again, vote, again, voice vote. Linda?
Yes.
Dave?
No.
No, okay, yes. And yes.
Why does Dave say no?
Motion carried. Thank you, sir. My wife will kill me.
The final application for the day is, it was shown on the amended agenda.
I just think it's on the wrong one. So I agree with that. I know. It's my opinion.
Okay.
Stephen Marcourt Revocable Trust, this is a reopen a table variance request under section 396-9 of the Adams County Shoreline Wetland and Habitat Protection Ordinance to allow a retaining wall within 75 feet of the ordinary high water mark, and a special exception permit request under 396-30A of the Adams County Shoreline Wetland and Habitat Protection Ordinance for excavation of a slope that is greater than 20% on property located in the southwest quarter, northwest quarter, Section 16, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Lot 1, Pike Staff Addition to Lake Sherwood at 1100 North Archers Way, Town of Rome. If you remember, this was on the agenda for the last, I guess, couple of months.
Right.
Last month, the retaining wall portion was denied. So this month, you should have gotten a new grading plan. I know it came late, but you should have gotten a new grading plan. That is what the board had said was come up with a new grading plan. Taking into consideration, you can't have a retaining wall. This is the grading plan that they proposed, and is so the variance portion is done. It's the special exception part that you still have to weigh in on.
Linda,
Or-
that's the one. The one with. Yeah. Got her now.
Yeah, so the variance was denied, but the special exception still is out there waiting for your opinion or decision. And I do see the applicant online. Did you get this on the website?
No.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I had to amend it. So I haven't. No, you gave that to me today.
I can't remember if it was last night or today.
Yeah, no.
Before we start, any questions? Has the DNR commented on this at all, Dustin?
No, and during the last month, the applicant and the DNR have had conversations. I was copied in on their emails, just general questions back and forth. And the variance portion is gone. The special exception part, the DNR didn't really feel they needed to weigh in on it. And part of the reason for that with, and it came up in the other one also, variances are very different than a special exception. The item here for the special exception where it's a limit of 1,000 square feet, 2,000, the way our ordinance is written, that's our choice. So the DNR doesn't really have that requirement. Other counties say you can't do it at all. And so that's why the DNR in my estimation, why they didn't weigh in, because it's not actually a DNR regulation.
Yeah, but they weighed in last time on this,
On the variance
on
part.
the variance.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. All right. So this is pretty self-explanatory, what they want to do here.
Yeah, we already have opened it up for public comment. The applicant is online if he wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's any clarification you need on it.
Do they have a home up yet? Or
No.
Or is it pending this?
Yeah, it's pending this. There's homes on both sides, and so we want to, get this taken care of so that we're not trying to do it after the fact in between houses.
But this is a vacant lot we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Is it gonna be degrading before or after the home is built, or?
We would do it before.
Before.
Yeah.
And when you plan to build it?
We're dealing with CMS construction, and we're kind of in the planning stage, but it'd be sometime this year. But this is, part of the process to get us there.
Because I'm concerned you do all this grading and then you don't build your home.
Oh, no, we plan to. Yeah, this will be a house that we'll use. My wife and I will eventually retire there. We have 3 kids, 13, 10, and 7, and then grandparents who are 75. My dad's handicapped, uses a cane to walk, so he can do stairs now, but we just didn't want them to be 17 feet, straight down to the lake. We're just trying to break that up a little bit. That's all.
What is the shoreline width there? What is the old for shoreline? Okay. Looks pretty narrow.
50 feet, I believe.
50 feet?
Sounds about right.
Okay, thank you. So, being new to the board, if I can ask a question on the 35-foot buffer zone, what can and cannot be done in that buffer zone? Other than a clearing, do you follow me where I'm going?
Sure.
With this?
So
So if he has 50 feet, he could be clearing almost 7 feet on each side and it would be there. Do you follow me where I'm
right,
going?
he gets. So you look at the width. The way the ordinance is written in general regulations, for that first 35 feet, you can't remove any vegetation.
Right. Other than
Except, so the way it's written is you can't remove any vegetation. Except you're allowed to remove the tree and shrub layer for 35% of it to create,
35%.
right, to create a viewing corridor. So on 50 feet, that would be 17 and a half feet.
Okay.
So of the 50, he could take 17 and a half feet down to grass.
Okay.
Outside of that, virtually no vegetation removal. Now, if it's dead, diseased, or dying, you can,
Right.
but you're supposed to replace them if it's a noxious weed. So poison ivy all over a honeysuckle. You can establish a plan with the Land and Water Department to remove that and plant it to something native.
Yeah.
So there are little caveats that you can do. But that's, so in general, you can't remove, you can go down to grass.
Right.
And that was where there's been some mix up over the years, is that you can't take it down to, even in that viewing corridor, you still have to have vegetation. You can't take it down to a beach. So in here, and it's good effort on the drawing. It's still a little hard to see, but he does talk.
Yeah. The original
Grass
packet.
is approximately a third of the lot width And that's what he was shooting for, is 35%.
Yeah.
I don't know how proportionate the drawing is, but on the right side of this,
Yeah.
some of the information that was in the original.
Right.
And then it said very limited tree removal in the 15 to 35 feet. And in that, he's actually referring to the viewing corridor where he could remove them.
Right.
So he does go into a fair amount of detail about what he plans on removing there.
When did you say you're gonna start building his home?
Hopefully this summer. We're working on plans right now. We've got a contract signed with CMS Construction, Chad Stats. He just built a house, I think, on South Archers, so he's familiar with all this. And this is kind of the one thing that, you know, first step is position of the house, and you know, is there going to be the excavation or not? And then from there, we've had some plans we've exchanged with them already, but you know, we'll plan to build as soon as we can.
Linda, you got any questions?
Yeah, what was the specific issue that caused this to be postponed?
A wall.
His original grading plan, so the original request was to do a bunch of grading, but it was going to be terraced, and there was going to be a retaining wall less than 75 feet to the water. A retaining wall is supposed to be 70. I mean, it's a structure. It's supposed to be 75, and the board didn't feel it was necessary. So the board turned down the variance and no, but then it made the grading plan kind of inaccurate because it was built around the retaining wall in there. So now he supplied the new grading plan without that retaining wall.
Yep.
So instead of a terrace, it's just more
Yep.
continuous.
Dave, any questions?
Yeah. So the question I have, so the grade between, because of your narrow lot there, what is the width that your house will be at? The lot?
It's about 66 feet there. The floodplain there is actually about 90 feet away from the shoreline, or at least that's what the GIS map shows. So we'll be back quite a ways. It's about 66 feet there, and the width of the house we're planning is pretty narrow, so we won't be anywhere near the setbacks back on the house.
You will meet the setback requirements.
Oh yeah,
that's
good. Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Gonna be here again.
So
It was
I'm
also-
looking at your
Yeah.
drawing, which, no, you can't see me, but this one here.
The new drawing that you
The new
just
drawing that
supplied.
you submitted, so where you says 6 feet, is that the natural grade of what we're looking at right now? The blue line,
the
is that a
blue-
grade?
The blue lines are more or less the current grade. It's a
Okay.
very flat lot, and then all of the 17 feet of drop happen within that 35 foot. You
So
know,
you're dropping the elevation grade 6 feet there. How will that impact your neighbors to both sides?
yep. So they've
Do you
actually
have a goal?
they've both done the same thing. I've talked to the neighbor in the tan house. He's been really welcoming about it. They both have the same thing. In fact, I think one of the earlier pictures in today's meeting had a similar thing. You just kind of have a gentle slope into a backyard. We'll actually be less slope than both of them. And at least the neighbor to the east in the tan house, Dan, didn't seem to have any problem with that.
And the bowl that you're talking about creating, if you look, the
Right.
property on the west is that
Yeah.
situation. If you kind of see, that's all riprap
Right,
and that's all flat
Yeah.
coming out of the walkout.
okay.
So we'd prefer to leave, you know, there's a little bit of trees, at least on the left-hand side of that lot. We'd prefer to leave as much of that as we can. And then replant trees. You know, I don't plan to install riprap. I'd rather it be more natural looking.
Okay.
And then you also, there was some question about setback.
Yeah.
The orange layer that I just clicked on is the floodplain. So he would have to be at least outside of that.
Yeah.
And you can see that already takes him back behind the front of the neighboring houses, or kind of in line. So
We did also contact Badgerland surveyors. They had actually already surveyed this lot like 2 years ago. And he confirmed the height of the lot is like 1,009 feet for almost the whole thing until it starts to dip. So I think 995 or something like that was the floodplain. So even with a 6-foot walkout, we would be well outside of that.
It's a lot of Sandy's moving.
It is.
Okay.
Well, I need some understanding here.
Okay.
I got this, I understand this, I understand that, all this, what the hell is this? What is that across here, that blue line?
I think it's just the line.
What the hell is it for?
So there's a question on the drawing that you just submitted. There's a blue line at the bottom.
Oh, that's just my my rudimentary drawing skills. You can ignore that.
That's what I kind of thought.
Yeah.
Because I think he was making a whole square, or
Yeah.
it wasn't just lines in there. I think it was like
Yeah.
he reshaped
a
the
box
box.
and a triangle next to each other. That's all.
You gotta have a bottom somewhere on this.
Yeah.
So what is the height grade from that picture, from the shoreline up to that existing?
So
It's
take
about
out the bottom blue line and then that's understandable.
Yeah, it's about 17 feet.
From the
So
lake?
currently there's stairs there currently. It's about little over 2 flights of stairs all in a row going straight down to the water. And
Okay.
I just don't want the kids or grandpa with his cane tripping and falling the whole way down. So we're just trying to create sort of a landing, if you will.
We're saying
Break it up.
here's the lake, yeah, to this point, 17 feet high. This lake.
Yeah, but he's taking that down.
Right, to 6 feet, so it'll be 11-foot grade, yeah, basically.
I don't know, any open discussion or open public?
I
You
think.
don't have to, because I mean you already have opened and closed the public hearing at a previous meeting.
I think it's an improvement when you have.
It's up to you guys as the board if you want. I mean, in fact,
Why do we look for?
it's these two would be the only people that are left in the meeting.
Somebody make a motion to approve or not approve.
I make a motion to approve the variance that is requesting for the grading.
And I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. So there you go.
All right.
Oh, hold on.
No, this has nothing to do with the meeting.
Yeah, I know. We have to wait till the meeting's done.
Oh, well, I can ask you after.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. Wait.
We closed the public hearing. We got any correspondence?
No.
Okay.
Talk about when the next meeting will be.
Either the first or the eighth.
The first, because, well, May 1st would be the normal first Wednesday, so same time.
Same time, place.
This one was different just because of,
Okay.
Right.
elections and whatnot, so. May 1st, 10:30 a.m. Do we have?
And a motion to adjourn.
I think it's gonna be a short meeting, so.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Hang
Aye.
on a second.
Oh, hold on.
How much time would we have to get that out? If I had to have it, I have to
Well, you would have gotten the
to the
applications and.
17th. I didn't have anything, so we're good.
Oh.
I think we're good.
So it doesn't look like we're gonna have a meeting, but
May 10th.
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't-
May
I don't
1st,
think we have anything,
but I don't think we have any applications, so.
which is good, because we couldn't have made the deadline for that date.
All right, now the meeting's done. Bye, Steve.
Good day.